Well, I think, well, to kind of put everything in context, I've done the Strata challenge 2 times before this, and the challenge is a painting a day for the month of January or September, and it's a painting a day from life, so it just really gets you working and painting from observation, and kind of gets you in that habit of just looking at things visually from life and translating them and painting them. Because when you work from photos, it compresses a lot of the things for you, and it's not three-dimensional space. So it really forces you to observe and work on your observational skills when you're painting from life every day. And I think that that had led to a lot of my growth as an artist, participating those past challenges. So I thought I'd do it again this year to start the new year, since I had kind of been in a little bit of a slump for a few months, not super happy with my work, not enjoying painting as much as I'd like to, and that's not an amazing place to be in. So I thought I'd challenge myself to do this with a couple other artist friends of mine, and it's really been helping, just painting every day, kind of getting back into that, just really enjoying the process, having a lot of fun, experimenting, and it just gets more natural as you go. So I've been doing a bunch of different paintings, a bunch of rose paintings, and I thought I'd give a candle painting a try because I had seen Daniel Keyes and Anna Rose and a couple other artists do some paintings of candles or flames or different things. So they kind of inspired me to give it a shot. So I found a couple candles laying around, and I had this nice candlestick that I've had for a while but never used. And I just put together this really fun rose and candle painting, and it just was such a fun painting that I've done a couple more ever since, because it's so much fun to paint candles, and the flame, there's something about it just so luminous, especially in oil paint. You can get some really fun effects. So I've just been having a lot of fun with that. And if anybody has questions about my setup, for this current painting, I have a secondary light source, which is also lighting my canvas right here for the video and for me. And it's a cooler light source. So some of these roses and candles have a little bit of a secondary light source on them, aside from that, the flame light source. So it can be a little tricky, since I'm having to deal with warm light and cool light from two different areas. But I think it's probably one of the easier, at least for me. I thought it would be good to set it up this way, so I can have these roses still in light, even though they're not directly lit by that flame, so you can still see them. So if anybody has questions, just feel free to unmute, and I'll get right to them.
Hey Jared, just a quick question for you. With your palette, is
Yes.
it a vertical palette, and is it sitting on some kind of tripod to keep it? I'm having trouble finding something that works
Yeah,
for
this is the Strata Mini that I have. It's the painting box from Strata, and I just have it on a standard tripod that cameras use. It's a travel one, so I can make it nice and compact for a backpack when I go out painting plein air and traveling with it.
perfect.
And
Strata Mini.
yeah,
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
you're welcome. And these candles they can be really tricky to paint, but they're so much fun, because I've found that if I really work on kind of that glow around it, getting that warmth and that soft transition around it, and then I come in with a really bright brush stroke of almost pure white. If I maybe bring it down a little bit with like a cad lemon, so it's not too cool looking, then that really gives it that nice, vibrant, bright value that you see in the candle. And that's one of the tricks with these kind of paintings, is you really have to pay attention to your values, especially these roses, because you might be tempted to paint them too light, which then once you get the actual flame in, then the flame isn't as dramatic and impactful, so it doesn't have that same feeling of a bright flame. So you have to really be careful when managing your values for something like this. So I think now that everybody's kind of watching, I'll start to work on this flame now, since that's this kind of the star of the show. So I'll mix up a nice pile of my titanium white. I'll get a little bit of cadmium yellow in there, so it's not just pure white.
Jared, when you're mixing this, the flames, is the value is so high, like really bright.
Yeah.
But then we don't want to do pure white, so that is where it gets tricky. Is how much of a warm or cool tint you add into it.
Yeah, I try and add just enough so it pushes it into the warm family, because titanium white on it by itself is really leans towards the cool family, kind of bluish. It kind of can kill warmer colors if you're not careful. So that's why some artists use alternative whites like lead white. But if you're careful with managing your color temperatures, you can kind of get around that, and you don't have to worry too much about it. So now I kind of just mixed up a nice pile of my white with a little cad in it. And I can just load my brush up with a nice amount of it. And I can really just find that flame right there and just put that in. And you can see how that just that one brush stroke really brings it all to life. It's really amazing. It never gets old. It's so much fun to just kind of keep everything darker in value, and then once you just put that in, it really comes to life. And one thing with, go ahead.
How do you set up the surrounding for the flame to pop like that? I know you've got something built up there.
If you look, pretty much the second lightest value grouping in value family so far in this painting is about this, which is a little bit lighter than the middle value if you go to the full value range from black to white, from the darkest dark to the lightest light. This I'd say is somewhere in the middle, but since I'm making this pretty much my kind of keeping everything in there, in that range, all the lights of these roses, then that way when I actually get the brightest bright in, it really just sings because it's in its own category of lightness compared to the rest of the painting. And really the fun part, another fun part with this flame is you get all these subtle color variations. You get some oranges, some reds, purples, blues. You get all these fun colors in there. So I like to use, I found that you find a lot of alizarin, kind of like this really vibrant red. If you use cad red light and alizarin, I can get some really vibrant reds. And that's kind of towards the bottom of the flame. There's some of those. And then it transitions into this blue. And then towards the top and the sides, there's more like a cad orange, maybe a cad yellow mixture. So you can almost go with pure cadmium when you're mixing these. And I can kind of just kind of tap it around and kind of work it into the surrounding area. And I'd encourage everybody, if they have access to candles, I'd encourage you to just set up a candle. You don't need to have the roses, just to practice, because it's can be tricky. I'd recommend taking your time, and don't be discouraged if it doesn't come out right the first time, because it takes a lot of time to really work on those skills of observing value and getting the drawing right, and getting those subtle color shifts in there. So just don't give up, just keep pushing through and keep trying. And now a fun part is I'm going to start to build up that warmth that the candle is casting into the surrounding area by adding the kind of those hints of that warm color that's falling onto these roses. And that really helps put everything in context, because right now I just have this flame, but there's a little bit of that light kind of falling that I've gotten, but I haven't really done it too much yet. So once I get all this light in there, then it will help everything else sit together and feel like everything's cohesive and part of the same environment once I get those lighter values in there. There's some beautiful purples and reds and kind of vibrant pinks in here. Because when you have that already really vibrant rose and then you add a really warm, saturated light source on top of that, you get some really interesting colors in there. And then these roses are almost side lit because they're not going to be catching that warm flame since they're in front of that candle. So I will add some of those little notes of light that come across. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with it now. Really happy with you know, the effect of the candlelight, the light surrounding it, the roses, and had a lot of fun getting that kind of smoky, the smoky tendrils in there. I think that effect turned out quite nice with the just subtle smoke and then that little ember that's left on the wick right there. So thanks everybody for watching. I had a blast doing this demo and doing the live session. That was part of it. Was really fun, and I was glad to be able to interact with the students and answer questions, and hopefully in the future I can do things like this again. And yeah, I'd love for you to apply what you learned here and do some candle paintings and, you know, post them on the forum or on Instagram and tag me, and I'd love to take a look and see what you guys come up with. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next demo. Bye.